Okay, so this is going to be a code breakdown and walkthrough for a program that I made for a work study position where basically I had to rename a bunch of student files. And so I'm going to be testing that program obviously with some dummy data here that I have from a CSV file. And so basically just gonna walk through and show how it works. So pretty much the student files would be in this sort of in this format. So it'll be student file, and then it'll have the last name, first name of the student. And basically what they wanted me to do is given this CSV file with these IDs 1001, 1002, etc. Basically, they want it to be student ID, comma last name, comma first name, and so using this program, this Python script, pretty much it goes through, iterates through the it pulls the names from the CSV file, and then it matches it to these names in the folders, the student folders, and pretty much it does that instantaneously. Some edge cases were if student names were incorrectly spelled, or if there was maybe a collision, which actually this I built this program to fix the collision error. All right, so getting into the testing of this script. So I'm gonna just go ahead and run it really quickly. And so as you can see, it puts the student ID and then last name and then first name, and then it did this pretty much instantaneously. So it really the impact I made was amazing because it cut out a lot of manual labor that the team would have had to do if it weren't for this program. So that's one thing that I was really proud of. And so I'll go ahead and pretty much walk through the code. It's honestly not too crazy, but pretty much I have the file path to the folder where the student files are located. In this case, student files tests, and you can see that there. And then the CSV file, which is located in this work study scripts folder, and it's called SpongeBob underscore characters.csv. And then this is reading the actual values from the CSV file, and then it pretty much just maps. It uses a dictionary data structure to map the name to the given ID number, so that we can later easily access it. And then this is a list to store the collisions that may happen, and then a list to store the ones that don't have any matches. So pretty much for file name in the directory. So we're looping through each file in the directory, and we're basically making sure first that it ends with .pdf. All of the student files ended with .pdf, so that was one requirement or guideline because they all have like student records in them. And then so this is here because the way that you saw was pretty much how it was for the most part when I would open these folders. They would have student file at the start. I guess they just named it that way so that they were, people would easily interpret it. But I basically just had this because of how they were named in the system. So, and then I checked to make sure that the length of the file is, so this part here is to account if there was a trailing space character before the .pdf. So like sometimes it would be like for example, like that. And so I would have to account for that because I don't want the first name to have that trailing space at the end. So that was just to account for that. It was like it was pretty funny how consistent it was. There was a good amount of files that were like that, so I had to account for that. That was sort of an edge case. And then so this basically matches the files so that we can have the last name, first name, and then we can parse the first and last names, and then basically creates a for f string formatted string for grouping together the last name and the first name. And then this is checking if name part, which is the formatted string, is in the dictionary that we created previously. If it's in the dictionary, that means that it was in this CSV file that it iterated through and grabbed the first and last names. And so if it's in that, then that means that we need to, let's see, where was I? If it's in the dictionary, then that means that we need to go ahead and change it. And so grab the impl from the dictionary and then grab the new file name. And so the new file name is basically going to be, like I said, it's going to be impl, which was the name of the student ID pretty much, and then the name part, which is last name and then first name. And so this is the old path name, or the old, not path name, but the old path. So like this, for example, would be a path. And then you have the new path. And then this is where we check for collisions. So sometimes there would be two student files for the same student, but they were different PDF files pretty much. And so when that happened, sometimes, well, before this part, pretty much what it would do is it would just overwrite it. And so that wasn't good because you could potentially be overwriting files that need to be there. And so instead of that, it will just alert you that hey, like you might be trying to overwrite a file. And so it'll tell you that it's already there. And then what I did from there is I just manually like combine them. So like you can take two files and then you can do quick actions and then create PDF. And so that would just combine them. And then if it's not in the if the name wasn't in the dictionary, then that means it wasn't found. And so, it wasn't found in the CSV file. And then this is pretty much just a final summary report. It'll tell you if collisions list was greater than 0, then that means there were collisions, and then it prints the collisions. And then if no matches, if the list is greater than 0, then there were some files had no matches or some names. And so if none of those, well, yeah, both of them together, then that means all of them were processed with no issues. And so that's pretty much how the code was. Thank you to my boss for being great and giving me this assignment. I definitely learned a lot, and I think I made a really good impact. And yeah, I was definitely really grateful for having this. So thank you so much.